Thank you so much. Moving ahead, I'll request Sir to felicitate Mrs. Sankalpa Kumar, Head Asia Market, Polytrade Finance. Mrs. Sandipta Kumar Patel, Deputy General Manager, Central Bank of India. Mrs. Chand Kuril, General Manager, SIDBI.
Hi friends, this is Mahesh Kumar. I'm the Director and General Secretary, SME Chamber of India. As you are aware, Mr. Salunke says, manufacturing is the backbone of the Indian industry as well as the finance. So we have a team of leaders from the finance industry here. Finance for the micro and small industries has been concerned to all the stakeholders, including entrepreneurs, financial institutions, and government organizations. Banks as well as the financial institutions plays a critical role in the economic development, and today if you'll see, they are well equipped with their products as well as the technology to do the financing for the MSME sector. So without wasting too much time, we will start with the sessions. So today we have Mr. Sankalp Kumar. He is a head Asia Market Polytrade Finance. He will talk about the Polytrade, a blockchain-based financing platform for MSMEs. Mrs. Chand Kuril, she is General Manager SIDBI. She is talking on the development of the MSME sector role of SIDBI. Mr. S. Balaji is here. Sandip Kumar Patelji is from the DGM Central Bank of India. So without wasting time, I will invite Mr. S. Balaji, AGM Mid Corporate Credit, Punjab National Bank, to address the August gathering.
Many thanks to the Pune Industries and SME Summit and Salunkeji for having given an opportunity to be a part member of this August gathering and be able to address this gathering too. I represent, Punjab National Bank, or rather any nationalized bank for that matter. We had been looking up to finance, help, fund SME units. And SME units, obviously, the second biggest hurdle for any SME units. After the first one, you get all your approvals, clearances from the government to start a startup or do something with your ambitions, goals. The second biggest thing is the credit line, basically. So, bankers are also looking up to fund you people. And we had been into this SME financing. Our major appetite for Punjab National Bank had been, SME financing. We have got more than 60 branches in Pune district, and the entire district has so far lent, say, more than 5,000 crores to MSME units in Pune district and other parts of Maharashtra. And I have had an opportunity to head the MSME lending unit here in Pune, and I've been associated with MSME lending for the past decade, more than a decade rather, in different parts of the country. I take this opportunity, I'm very glad I get this opportunity to meet you all people, discuss with you all people, share my thoughts as the other person, the person on the other side of the table. Like all the MSME customers, basically they come down looking up for funding, financing and all. We sitting at the other side of the table, we know what are the problems, what are the issues which both sides are facing. So not getting deeper into what is my product, these are my products and all. I always tell my customers who are come, see, like whether you go to Rupali restaurant or to Vaishali restaurant, it is only the masala dosa. End of the day, it is the appetite of the customer and it is the taste of the masala dosa that matters whether the deal is clinched or not. That is what basically matters. So I want to dwell upon, not on my products and procedures, I want to dwell upon what the industry had faced, MSME industry, what it had faced for the last, say, 2 years or so, and what is the present scenario, what is the interest rate setup, interest rate scenario, what is the prevalent now, and what is the expectation from the bankers with respect to the MSME loan applications which we receive or which we process. See, for the past 2 years, everybody knows the pandemic area time was there, it was a total turmoil. I have seen like many, I'm not talking about big units which do a turnover of say more than 100, 150 crores, 250 crores, something like that. These small units and mid-sized units, which do a turnover of say 30 crores, 40 crores, 50 crores, 60 crores. Those units we have seen their balance sheet dwindle down to 70%, 80% down. 20% of the last year's turnover had been achieved. And consequently, what had happened was they could not even go for a break even. The operating cost and the overheads were so high that end of the day, it was basically a loss which had been shown. Maybe some units were into cash profits because of huge depreciation, but in any case, you need to pay your overheads, you need to pay your salaries for at least the basic staff strength. So obviously, all these MSME units have faced lot of difficulties in their financial balance sheets, in their finance requirements and all that we have seen. And to counter that, to face that, what we have done was two things basically. One was the government guidelines were so good, the government initiative was so good. The two things which all the banks, I'm not representing only Punjab National Bank, all the nationalized banks for that matter, they have done this restructuring part. Many of the banks have done to the fullest extent so that MSME units have been benefited by virtue of the extension of the time period of the loan by at least 5 years. Whatever is the outstanding term loan, they have been restructured. Some moratoriums have been given depending on the individual units, say 1 year or 2 years moratorium, whatever was required, that was placed into the system. And extension of the time period has been given. That was point number one. And point number two was this emergency credit line was really a breather for majority of the struggling MSME units. In that, the best thing was government said that don't bother about primary security, don't bother about collateral security, just as a percentage of the outstanding, existing outstanding. Only condition was that accounts must have been performing, accounts must have been not NPA, accounts must have been performing. So these two things basically all the banks have done to push in some liquidity into the system by virtue of giving that GECL loans, and secondly by virtue of this restructuring, to great extent lot of MSME units have got a breather, and I have been a part of that in Pune also, the major industrial hub of Maharashtra. I can assure you, I can tell you that there are a lot of MSME units, their balance sheets have gone into red, their turnovers have gone down, profits have eroded, they have gone into losses, but still, with the government help, with the government initiative, with the direction of the Government of India Finance Ministry, banks have pumped in some amount of liquidity into the system so that they are able to remain afloat. That is what we have seen in the last 2 years. Now, looking today, we stand today looking forward to the next, say, 6 months of the current financial year. Current financial year is coming for a close, maybe the first half of the next financial year. What is that we are expecting? The Monetary Policy Committee had just concluded. Last week, the Monetary Policy Committee had concluded. Everybody was expecting that there is going to be a rate hike. In the repo, or at least in the reverse repo, there would have been at least 25 pips, 25 basis points increase would have been there. But end of the day, the Monetary Policy Committee chose to remain a status quo, keep a status quo. Rate of interest has not been increased. From our side, from the bankers' side, we expect that maybe 6 months down the line, rate of interest might start moving up. It is high time that we have been retaining the lower rates for a longer time because of the COVID pandemic. For the last 2 years, the rate of interest had been falling. Now the inflation has again started raising, so obviously government doesn't have any other option except to raise the interest rate to match with the inflation rates. So rate of interest are going to increase, they might increase. So at this level, the rate of interest at the lowest ebb, this is the right opportunity for the MSMEs to plan, to think. Post-COVID, actually, we all believe as senior bankers, we feel like now economy is opening up, market is testing, market is trying to open up, new opportunities are coming up. Now, as you can see from the virtual meetings, we have now started coming to physical meetings, and by God's grace, if this is going to continue, this third wave subsides, and then this becomes an endemic, and then people start learning to how to live with the virus. So maybe down the line, we will again start coming, we might start seeing the pre-pandemic days, and the economy might go up. So at this level, all the MSME sector, MSME entrepreneurs, my suggestion is that you just think future, think forward, like at least for the next 1 year, what I am going to do, what I am planning to do, and approach your respective bankers for the credit lines, because now the rate of interest is at the lowest ever. Repo rates are at 4% now. Whatever spread bankers have, say 3%, 4%, whatever is going to be the bankers spread over the repo, the rate of interest is going to be 8% on an average. Any bankers across the board, I am not talking about any individual single bank also. So this is the lowest level of interest rate which MSMEs can get. So at this time, if you strike your deal with your bankers, if you finalize your securities, your rate of interest, your credit lines, your limits, everything, that is, I tell you friends, this is going to help you out in your long-term perspective, long-term planning. Hopefully the economy revives, goes up, the V-shaped recovery, whatever is being spoken about, that we might see it in reality. That is what the present day and the next future which we foresee as bankers. And the third thing which I want to dwell upon is that I am not going to take much of time because there are a lot of other eminent speakers are there. But we had been associated with this MSME lending for decades together. We had been working in different parts of the country. We had been into different types of industries altogether. So there are certain small suggestions, if I can give out of my experience, to young entrepreneurs or to MSME sector for getting the credit lines, for the smoothening of the process. What happens is, I see all these MSME clients, all these MSME entrepreneurs, why we have assembled here? There are only two purposes. One is that if I am able to network, if I am able to get some good connects, good opportunities, I can grow my business, point number one. And point number two, after getting an opportunity, after getting an order, the next immediate thing we look upon is to, where from do I get my credit line? Where from do I get my funds? Which banker will fund me? Will my existing banker मेरे को support करेगा या मतलब मेरे को क्या करना होगा, क्या नहीं करना होगा? तो इसमें we have been into this MSME financing. I'll tell you some small things which you people, MSME clients, can just note down, think about it, and in case if these things are set right, your credit proposals, I tell you, what happens is bankers are also looking up to funding MSMEs. We are flooded with funds. Bankers are flooded with funds. We invest into these RBI bonds and Government of India bonds at a rate of interest of 3.5%, 4%, 3.75%. If MSME unit is giving the banks a rate of interest of 8.8% or 8.5%, obviously any banker will be glad to invest there. But end of the day, we have to make the ends meet. There is a requirement for the MSMEs. At the same time, there are bankers sitting in line with lot of funds flushed with them, trying to be ready to give the funds to the MSME units. But there is some disconnect is there, mismatch is there. So that thing, if you can try to match, banker has to put a step forward, and even the MSME units, if they can, do certain things, basic due diligence, if they can understand what does the banker looks for. Banker देखता क्या है, क्यों delay हो जाता है? Proposal मतलब I have seen lot of cases where the customer comes and complains कि सर 1 महीना हो गया था proposal दे करके, 2 महीना हो गया था, अभी तक आपका ऑफिस से कुछ जवाब नहीं आया. So why does this happen? We have been constantly analyzing why this is happening. हमें कोई ऐतराज नहीं है देने में, because schemes are there. I tell you, I am not going to dwell upon all the list of schemes, that will be boring you people. करना क्या है, मतलब end of the day it is only masala dosa, whether it's Rupali restaurant or Vaishali restaurant, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. So certain simple things like, how many of us have really checked our civil reports? Last time when did we check our civil reports? Kindly आप अपने आप सोच लीजिए इसको. Kindly my request is, check your civil reports at least once in a quarter. Just see what has come there. Maybe you did not take that loan at all. Maybe that loan was repaid. Maybe you stood as a guarantor for some other loan and that person has not repaid and you are not aware of that. You have even forgotten that you have given a guarantee to that person. But that will come into your civil and that will hamper you from getting a loan from a nationalized bank. Point number one. And point number two, you are having some property, immovable property, land, building, whatever is there. You are agreeable to give it as a collateral security to the bank. काइंडली आपका लायर को एक बार दिखा करके, उसका पेपर्स एक बार दिखा करके आप खुद तसल्ली हो जाइए कि पेपर में कोई देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम्स इन द पेपर, द नॉन एग्रीकल्चर कन्वर्शन इज डन एंड देन अप्रूवल्स आर देयर, परमिशंस आर देयर, इट इज मॉर्गेजेबल, surface enforceable. These things are all very simple things actually. These are not complicated. Your lawyer can very easily tell you at a very nominal charges or pricing. That will give you confidence when you go and talk to your bankers. You know fully well that your security is intact. You are having a collateral security. You are on a strong wicket to talk to your bankers. Point number 2. And then point number 3. Kindly never overvalue your assets. Kindly never overvalue your assets, whether in the project reports or in your valuations. I have seen n number of cases where the company comes and says, the promoter, the entrepreneur comes and tells us, sir, wo 10 crore ka property hai, wo 5 crore ka property hai. But later on when we send our valuer, he comes back saying that it is say half of what has been told to us. My request is that kindly never overvalue your properties. Point number 2. And point number 3, Bank of India General Manager also told the same thing. My view has also been the same. Kindly be transparent with your bankers. Kindly be transparent with your bankers. Tell your problems. Maybe the data realization is so poor. Maybe some advance payments you have made has got stuck with your suppliers, and suppliers are not able to deliver your machineries in time. These things are quite possible. We know fully well that the MSME is into trouble. What are the problems? What are the different kinds of issues which they might be facing? Kindly explain to us, tell us that these are the problems, and we are there with the solutions. Just don't bother. Just like your lawyer, or just like your doctor, or just like your other professionals, CAs, or whoever you engage, kindly have trust in your bankers too. Point number 3. And then submission of simple papers, small papers will be there on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. If you just ensure that these papers are sent to the bankers on time, that will save a lot of trouble on a later date when you suddenly get some orders. Go to the bankers for credit lines, go to the bankers suddenly saying that, sir, मेरे को order मिल गया है, अभी कल शाम को मेरे को आप CC दे दो, मेरे को letter of credit खोलना है, मेरे को help कर दो. But banker, when he sees last 12 months record, stock statements have not been submitted, or stock statements were little, there were some problems into the stock statements, and then the balance sheets, they have not been finalized, or balance sheets have not been uploaded into the ROC, or balance sheet have not been given to the bankers at all. So these sort of small things, like if you people can take care of that. Point number 2. And then one more important thing is that, again I am repeating what Bank of India person has told. Many of the entrepreneurs I have seen, small entrepreneurs, like they have a CC line, cash credit line, working capital credit line, say 5 crore. The present availment is only 3 crores. There is some fixed asset, some capital machinery has to be purchased. The immediate thing they see that, अरे banker को देगा तो banker takes 3 months time, 4 months time, अभी कुछ term loan में होने वाला नहीं है, मेरा capital machinery purchase नहीं कर पाऊंगा मैं, तो I got credit line, CC limit is there. Send the money from there. Kindly never do that. Never divert your working capital to create long-term fixed assets. You will land into trouble on a later date. This is my suggestion. And then working capital limits, even if you don't require that, kindly ensure that every year you increase your working capital limits proportionate to your sales. I have seen lot of cases where the working capital was not increased for last 3 years. It was say 1 crore or 2 crore rupees only. But after 3 years, when suddenly the turnover jumps from say 15 crore to 20 crore, the promoter comes to us saying that, sir, अभी तो हम 50 करोड़ मतलब 20 करोड़ कर रहे हैं, आगे आने वाले साल में 25 करोड़ कर लेंगे, 5 करोड़ का हमें working capital चाहिए. So then banker thinks like existing working capital was only 1 crore, sir, maximum I can give you only up to 2 crore or something. So every year, if you can proportionate to your sales turnover increase, if you can increase your working capital limits, that will help you on a longer run. When suddenly you receive a big chunk of orders, you need not worry for, अरे where from मेरे को credit line कहाँ से मिलेगा करके. That was all. And understand your balance sheet kindly. I have seen many entrepreneurs, उनका जो factory में whatever is the there is a stoppage of workflow has stopped. So immediately he will say that maybe on that boiler there is a problem, maybe on this CNC machine there is a problem. Immediately I have seen the promoter himself. He had been a technical person also. He knows thoroughly well which boiler would have stopped. He knows thoroughly well which CNC machine would have stopped. But The banker simply asks him, what is your current ratio? Then suddenly, immediately he says, sir, वो सब हमको idea नहीं है, हम हमारा CA को लेके आते हैं. But that doesn't serve the purpose at all. You are so aware of your factory, your manufacturing unit, you know ki which conveyor belt had stopped, which CNC machine had stopped. You should also be aware about ki what does your balance sheet say, because end of the day, that is your horoscope, that is your kundli, which goes to the bankers up to your head office level. Even if it is a 500 crore loan with a 2500 crore of turnover, balance sheet is that basically what speaks. So kindly try to understand your balance sheet. Talk with your CA. Bring your CAs to the bankers also. Bankers are also ready to understand your needs and then support you. Kindly have trust on the bankers also. And finally, one thing, kindly give time to bankers also. Bankers are also, they are hard pressed with staff, hard pressed in the pandemic times. Banking industry was one industry which was continuously working. We didn't shut down our offices at all. In spite of all the problems of pandemic which we had faced, we had been working also. So kindly give the time. Are you estimate, understand, talk to your managers, like how much of time your proposal is going to take, and plan that thing in your timelines also. Like I give a proposal to a banker today, maybe 1 month time, 15 days time, they will sanction. That timeline, kindly you also accept, incorporate the same in your mind so that your flow of credit line is not hampered with. So thanks for the opportunity, having invited us for this August meeting. Feel very honored to be a part of you, and be rather more than delighted to help anybody at any given point of time. Any questions on MSMEs, I'm ready to answer. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Balaji sir. Thank you for your open-minded support, thoughts that how MSME can avail the financing. And friends, if you'll see, the nationalized banks or any other banks, they are coming out of from the traditional financing, traditional banking, accepting the digital technologies as well as the aggressively they are helping to the industries. As Balaji sir said, banks have ample of funds. They are welcoming to the good customers. So जो सर ने एक 5 पॉइंट आपको बता दिए, I think so we have to think on those lines also to improve our credit line, to improve our business and go to the next level. So we have a next speaker over here who is talking on the digital lending. So I'll ask Polytrade ji to take over. Thank you.
Few days ago, on one of the days, I woke up really early to watch the second day of the Boxing Day Test match between England and Australia. And as I switched on the TV, I realized that they were showing the highlights package of the previous day's play. So I got a little curious, and I went around a few cricketing apps to figure out what's going on. And I learned that the English cricket team has just had a massive COVID scare. In fact, they were made to wait outside in their team bus while they were all tested again. Fortunately, their tests were negative. The match did resume. England lost that quite badly. What followed were a lot of discussions and speculations in terms of what needs to be done with the series now. Should it happen? Should it be called off? As it turned out, they went ahead with it, and it finished as per the schedule. Now, this is not the first time it has happened, and this will not be the last time either. But an incident such as this one reminds me, in fact all of us, of two extremely crucial facts of our lives. One, the days of uncertainty are far, far, far from being over. And number two, in spite of all of this, the show must go on. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sankalp Kumar. I'm the Director of Business for Polytrade. And by the time I'm done with my short presentation here, I would have shared with you 3 safe business practices that SMEs around the world are adapting to, adopting and incorporating in their strategies as their best effort to counter this uncertainty which is hovering over our lives and our businesses. Of course, I will tell you about polytrade, who we are, what we do, and how we can help you achieve these safe business practices if you wish to. Moving on, last year during the lockdown, I attended a webinar. The speakers in this webinar were highly experienced professionals. The agenda was to let the audience know, which was largely SMEs, what their management is thinking, how they are taking care of their business in these uncertain times. A lot of recommendations were given, and personally, I found that session to be very knowledgeable, very informative. And because I want to be empathetical and because I want to be relevant with my clients, I followed it up by attending similar webinars. And the reason why I chose to share these 3 safe business practices with you today is because I found that these 3 were unanimously accepted and appreciated across all forums. In fact, they were emphasized upon and talked upon by experts across all forums. Okay, this is working. You'll do it. Can you go to a slide? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I can see that. All right. Okay. So without taking any more time, let me just quickly go on to the first one, the first safe business practice that I have on my list today, and it goes like, ensure that you have a robust framework for managing your supply chain. Now, what this means in simple words is that experts around the world are telling companies that this is indeed the best time for them to know their supply chain better than they've ever known them. Now, we will all agree that supply chain can be a complex structure. Say, for example, for a manufacturer, it may start with a farmer growing a crop somewhere in a remote village of India, and it may end with a consumer somewhere in the US or in Europe. But between these 2 guys, there are a number of entities. And at this point, we need to remind ourselves that all of these entities have had their own struggles. It's a global pandemic after all. And therefore, just knowing their procurement manager or sales manager may not be enough. Business owners, they need to know people that they're doing business with a lot better. This is the time for business owners to take a step ahead and decide whether they want to do business in the same terms as they've been doing, or whether this is a time for them to take a step ahead and renegotiate their business terms. Now, the question is, how do we do that? Because whenever we talk to our client, he says everything is okay. Obviously, they will not share their financial information with us. Maybe they're too big. Not all of them are publicly listed. But the answer to that question is quite straightforward. We need to be prudent. We need to look around, and we will find products that will help you achieve this. Moving on, the next one on my list today goes like this. Ensure that your own financing remains viable. Or don't keep all your eggs in one basket. In other words, do not assume that what has been available to you as your financing option will remain available to you forever. Now, don't take me wrong here. By no stretch of imagination am I standing here trying to indicate that something is going to go wrong with your existing financial institution. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, I'm a huge fan of Indian banking and all the efforts that have been put behind in extending support. But again, at this point, we need to remind ourselves that all of these institutions, public or private, have fought their own battle. It's been a global pandemic. So what happens if the support gets pulled? Not permanently, maybe momentarily, but what happens? Are we prepared for it? Do we have a contingency for it? Experts around the world say that companies must have contingency plan for such a situation. How do we do that? Yet again, look around. Look around for other financing options. Consider alternate financing, for example. Now, you don't have to give all your business to them, but just enough to have a relationship. Maybe, God forbid, if the going gets tough, they may be able to inject that fuel that you need to ride that storm. The third one, Can we go on to the next one, please? Okay, the third one and the last one on my list, and in my opinion, perhaps the most important one, says focus on cash to cash conversion cycle. Or do not take your sales and receivables for granted. Now, we all know sales are very important. We all work very hard to sell our products. I am here because I want people to buy my product. Sales help us generate revenue, revenue helps us generate profit, profit helps us run businesses. But what is the use of sales if they are not realized? Especially when we know that times are uncertain. This is the time for business owners to work prudently and look at means of converting their receivables into sales, or rather converting their sales into, or rather realizing their sales at the earliest. Experts around the world are saying that companies must shift their focus from income statements to balance sheets. Try to get rid of your debtors as soon as possible. Try to pay off your creditors as soon as you can. Try and pay off your loans as soon as you can. Now, once again, the question is, how do we do that? Because our clients don't pay us upfront. This is how we've been doing business for many, many years. If we won't do it, someone else will do it. And yet again, we need to remind ourselves that these are new beginnings. Time ahead is uncertain, and therefore a combination of this calls for a new strategy. Therefore, businesses must make a constant effort to do business in the safest possible manner. Look around for various prudent ways which can help you do that. Now, before I tell you how polytrade can help you achieve these safe business practices, I just want to give you a little background on polytrade. So, polytrade has actually been in making for last 7 years. The founder and the core team of polytrade has been working with SMEs for many, many years internationally. The challenges faced by SMEs here in India are quite similar to the challenges faced by SMEs, say, in the United States. However, there's one difference. The access to conventional financing is much easily available to SMEs in India as compared to the US. And that is a fact. Yet, those economies are doing okay. And we all know that the SMEs are the backbone and the fuel and the engine of any economy. And therefore, if those economies are doing all right, it is safe to assume that the SMEs are also doing okay there. And in spite of not having access to conventional financing, how is it that they're able to sustain and do well? I'll tell you why. Because long, long ago, they learned not to overly rely on conventional financing mechanisms, and they accepted and appreciated the role of alternate lending in their economy. Now, we all know where India wants to reach. We all know what stiff targets government has, and I'm quite confident that we'll reach there. But for us to reach there, the engine, the fuel, the backbone of our economy, which is the SME, will also have to accept and appreciate the role of alternate lending in our economy. And we at Polytrade feel that it is happening. It has already started. And this is the right time, and therefore that's the reason why we are here now. All right, so let me tell you what Polytrade is. Can we go on to the next slide, please? Okay, so Polytrade is a receivable financing platform. It is built on blockchain technology. Blockchain enthusiast people, tech-savvy people, institutions come and invest on our platform. We deploy that liquidity into real-world assets, which are invoices in our case. And of course, we give good returns to our investors. How does Polytrade operate? Well, Polytrade is a global brand. It's a global platform. It identifies geographies where it wants to go and do business. It goes into that geographies and does strategic tie-ups with existing distribution channels. In India, our distribution channel is called 91, your international code to finance. Mr. Sudhir Gautam, he's there with me here. He leads the efforts of 91. I strongly suggest and recommend that all of you must exchange your coordinates with him so that he can be in touch with you. So how does the platform work? Can we go on to the next slide, please? Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so what we try to do here is that we try to create a very simple diagram so that we can make you understand how technology works. But we didn't have to spend a lot of time because in reality, that is how simple it is. As a supplier, as an exporter, you come and you register on our platform. You tell us a bit about yourself, you tell us a bit about your client, your buyer. You show us your invoice. Our platform will do its assessment. Remember, we are a technology, so we are integrated with various global databases that allows us to carry out our assessment in a fairly quick time. We get back to you with our result, with our offer, you accept it, we sign up with you, we send your invoice to the buyer for verification. Once your buyer verifies and agrees to pay on time, we transfer the funds into your account. All of this in a matter of few hours. Right, let me quickly jump on to the benefits that our facility offers to companies. Now, this facility is a non-recourse facility, which means that it covers the bankruptcy risk and a willful default risk of your buyers. Of course, it helps you reduce your working capital cycle. What was due to you in 60 days, 90 days, or 120 days now comes to you on the 5th or the 10th day. I mean, I can't really tell you the importance. I can't really teach all of you people what you can do with that liquidity. This is an off-balance sheet arrangement. Remember, what we are doing is essentially buying your invoices, and therefore what we are giving you is not really a loan, but it is the proceeds against the performance that you have already done. Now, at this point, I would like to take a few seconds on emphasizing on one of the very key aspects, one of the very key benefits that is often ignored by people. Now, if you choose to work with a factor or an invoice purchasing company, essentially what you're also doing is you're outsourcing your AR management, credit and risk, and collection services to them. Now, for me, that is a blessing in disguise for an SME, because imagine how much of a bandwidth does it really free. As a business owner, you are then able to focus only on what you know doing best, and that is your business. For me, this is one of the very important highlights or benefits of this product. It is collateral free. We don't take assets. The underlying trade itself is an asset, rather collateral for us. The way we have built our technology, I'm quite sure that it's going to give a completely flawless experience to all its users. Clients don't have to worry about the size of the invoices. They can be small invoices, big invoices. I mentioned we are a technology, and therefore we are integrated with various global databases, and that allows us to get rid of a lot of intermediaries, because of which we are able to do this and provide this to our clients at a very cost effective manner. And of course, we do it at a fairly fast turnaround time. Now, I can go on and on and on and on with the benefits, because I've been selling this for last so many years. But at this point, I want to take you guys back to from where we started, the key, or rather the 3 safe business practices, and how we can help you achieve that. Now, if you choose to come on our platform, and if we are ready to onboard your buyer, what we are essentially telling you is that your buyer or your client is in a good financial health. And therefore, what you can choose to do at this point is take a step ahead and provide your client full cooperation by extending whatever payment terms that he wants. On the other hand, if you refuse to onboard your client or your buyer, what we are essentially trying to tell you is that your buyer may not be in a very good financial health. And therefore, then as a business owner, you have a decision to make whether you want to continue working with him or whether you want to renegotiate your payment terms with him. So, our product helps you know your business partners or people in your supply chain better, and that is the need of the hour. We can act as your alternate lenders. You can look to use us in conjunction with your banking. As I said, you don't have to give all of your business to us. Give us some business. Let's start a relationship. Who knows, God forbid, if the support gets pulled, maybe we'll be able to inject just the fuel that you need to ride that storm. And lastly, we'll help you realize your receivables or your sales at the earliest by purchasing it, because that is how it should be. Once you've performed, once you've shipped, you should get paid, especially during these times, during these uncertain times. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I might be running out of time here. I thank you all for listening to me so patiently. I look forward to interacting with you during the course of this event. Please take care of yourself, your friends and family, and of course your business. Thank you.
Thank you, Sankalji. Just a quick one question. What will be the minimum ticket size, maximum ticket size, and what will be the minimum turnaround time you will take?
There is no maximum ticket or minimum ticket. I think I mentioned that the what we are trying to create here is an experience where really people don't have to worry about. I mean, it could be probably an invoice as small as $1,000, or it could be an invoice that could be $1,000,000. So size is something that we are not really looking at. What was your second question? The turnaround time. Well, a few hours. um, it, it depends really, but I would see we can't ignore the basic lending principles. So we need to still take care of them. But I think what we have is an evolving technology, and we are going to get better and better at it. But certainly the endeavor is to do it as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Sankalp, for enlightening us on that. Now, moving ahead, I will request Mr. Chankuril, General Manager, SIDBI, to speak on the role of the SIDBI for the development of the MSME sector. Ma'am, please.
Um, Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chandkuril here. I'm representing SIDBI. I'm based in Pune only. Our office is here, regional offices at Pune. I would just like to take you back, you can say a little bit of, tell you about the history of our bank. We were created in 1990 by an act of the parliament, and the intention was basically promotion, financing and development of SMEs. Three in one. One institution was doing three jobs. We were financing, we were promoting also, looking after other aspects also of SMEs, plus developing also. So we were, you can say, venturing into micro level enterprises also, and bringing out various schemes for very tiny enterprises too. Besides customizing our schemes to various needs of MSMEs, because as and when we see that over a period we have seen that the external factors are very important, because whenever the policies, the government policies change, or you can say the state policies change, the industrial policies they change, we also have to change, because obviously we have to suit the needs of the MSMEs. So initially we started off as a refinancing institution, 1990. I joined in 1991, the bank, as a staff officer. 94, 95, I remember when the computers came, we became, you can say tech savvy, because initially when I joined, we did not have any computers, we used to be working through ledgers, etc. 94, 95, then we started direct financing. And, we didn't have so much of staff. Our network was also not so good, in a sense that we didn't have very many branches, because we were carved out of IDBI, basically. Then we dealing from IDBI. Now, 94, 95, when we started, you can say, direct finance, we started expanding. the recruitments happened, and the schemes they changed. We became more tech savvy, where we didn't know how to operate computers. We learned that also, and accordingly over a period our we started, various measures were taken, because we had to keep the mandate which was there in our act. We had to keep an eye on that, whatever our act said, we had to go according to that. The kind of industries we were financing, where we were financing, everything we had to conform to that. So you can say, for the ecosystem, we started this fund of funds to support the startup ecosystem. We were very concerned with that. Then the promotional and developmental activities to support entrepreneurs. Basically, we wanted to encourage the spirit of entrepreneurship in the country. So to take it forward, we started our Swavlamban series. Swavlamban, we started organizing, various kind of initiatives were there, like Swavlamban Bazaar. Then along with that, the Usha Silai School, that initiative is there, where we are financing, very small, like women entrepreneurs are there. So we are, the Silai machines we are giving them, we are financing them, training them also. And the Swavlamban series went on. And after that, we were also, you can say, a nodal agency for MSME oriented schemes of the government, besides doing the indirect lending and through banks and SFBs, etc., and the direct lending to MSMEs through innovative lending models. I'm not exactly following the slides, because I would like to just speak about our bank, you can say, on my own. So recently we have launched this Ubharte Sitare scheme. That is actually, a fund was launched. This Ubharte Sitare program was launched by the Honorable Union Finance Minister in August 2021 for export-oriented firms. Under the program, a fund known as Ubharte Sitare Fund has been set up by SIDBI and Exim Bank. So basically, it is for future export champions, which are, they are going to export more than 50% of your they should be your you should be sales should be of for exports only. Then you can like the kind of sectors which we are targeting are automobiles, aerospace, defense, chemicals, food processing. And it's actually a need-based financial assistance, subject to maximum of 80% of the project cost. It is joint financing with Exim Bank. Now, independently, if we are doing, our limit would be say 10 crore or so, but if we are doing along with Exim Bank, we can go up till approximately 30 CR. And this technical assistance is also being given under this for mentorship support, equity support, etc. If the performance is good, like 25 BPS performance or milestone linked interest incentive is also there. Interest rate, it is MCLR linked, and repayment, it is extendable to 10 years. Because I am in Pune only, I am observing that, and I am in the regional office, that a lot of units, particularly in Bhosri or Chakan, or in the Hadapsar industrial area, even in Nagpur side or Aurangabad and Chendra, etc., lot of industries are there which are majorly into exports. 50% or more they are exporting of their products. So we would like to invite all of you to please look at this scheme. But the only, you can say, the restriction here is that the product should be very unique. That is the basic condition here. So I would in fact request all of you, if anybody here is majorly into exports, to please examine this and see if your product is unique. You can definitely take advantage of this fund. This is one Ubharte Sitare fund I'm talking about. The other schemes which we have introduced is Arise is there, Arise and Sthapan. So basically, the kind of schemes which we were introducing were that we wanted the promoter, the banker, and the machinery supplier to be on the same platform. So what we did, we entered into MOUs with you can say the suppliers, the machinery manufacturers like ACE, etc. So when a promoter goes to buy a machine, see, initially we were into totally DCS, that is project lending, land building machinery. Now we are supposing, even if a promoter is not our existing customer and he is coming to us saying that I have building, I have land, I have machines also, and I want to expand. So, maybe his limit has got exhausted in his bank. Now he wants to buy just one machine or two machines or three machines. He comes to us. We haven't, and particularly if he is buying from the same machinery manufacturer, that is OEM, where we have had already an MOU, and we have a number of MOUs right now in place. So the seller, that is the machinery manufacturer, he comes to us saying that this is the buyer and he wants loan of this amount, and I'm sending him this machinery, and I'm sending this customer to you. The customer comes to us and a triangle is created, and immediately the 100% financing is there at a very, very, you can say, competitive or a low rate of interest as of now. One, the rates are very, very competitive, very low, I would say. And two, the security is also very minimal, say 20 or 25% FD. So, and 100% financing. So these are the schemes, you can say, last 4 or 5 years we have come up with these schemes, like Speed is there, Speed Plus, Pratham. These are the names I am taking. However, when this COVID happened, the situation was very, very, you can say, challenging for us also. But we rose to the occasion. The emergency line of credit was there, which the government had given. A lot of our borrowers, they benefited through that. And of course, along with that emergency line of credit, we were financing through other schemes also. And besides that, restructuring. Now, a lot of our borrowers which I would say that they were literally slipping, downhill during this period. We mollycoddled them, or, we actually really looked after them. And they stayed, you can say they stayed the course, and they took assistance from that. Right now, in fact, they are doing very well, these promoters. Now, why I am not exactly marketing SIDBI, but what I want to say about this bank is that if a promoter is connected with us, he doesn't go anywhere else. That's with a lot of pride I say that. Because a promoter whom I have maybe brought in the fore 10 years back in 2008, 2009 or 2010, despite whatever offerings he may be getting, whatever may be happening outside, he doesn't go out, he doesn't leave us. One particular promoter I remember, he's telling me, I had gone to Bhosri the other day. He says, SIDBI understands the pain of SMEs. Whenever we want assistance, any kind of assistance, you are there. You sort of model your product. You listen to us. At any time of day, I can call you. I can come to you, tell your problems. Because as earlier also somebody had said, that generally transparency is missing. At times what happens, the promoters, they are very transparent with the CA, but they are not so transparent with the banker. But here we see that we generally, we spend a lot of time with the promoters, try to understand their problems. If possible, we talk to our head office also, come up with some kind of a solution and help him out. So that is something with great pride, I can say. Now, touching upon these schemes, I would say like Arise is one, where we are giving assistance to re-energize capital investments by SMEs. It is again basically to finance the machinery requirement, but for brownfield units only, and who are going in for expansion, modernization, etc. And very quick sanction, digitally also it can be done. Rate of interest is very low, and the amount is high, and obviously it should be profit making. The other one is Thapan, which is for greenfield units for purchase of land, factory building, etc. equipment. And new units are there. It's a greenfield project, and term loan is up to 20 CR. Now, again, the rate of interest here, as you can see there, it is very low, and it is basically the MSMEs setting up units in identified sectors under production-linked incentive scheme, whichever sectors are there, like metal and other sectors are there, automobiles and all, those sectors we are financing these. Besides that, Shwas, right now what we have done since we had an earlier scheme specially created for units which were struggling during COVID, and which were, you can say, manufacturing products which were involved in this COVID, like oxygen equipment, etc. That now we have merged into one scheme, RO, that is SIDBI assistance to MSMEs for recovery and organic growth during COVID pandemic. So this also right now, since they are continually manufacturing these kind of products, so we are financing them, and I would say that they are doing quite well also. Another scheme which we have come up with is for financing rooftop solar PV plants. That is under the name of STAR, which you can see the loan can go up to 3.5 crore, and maximum repayment period is 7 years. Again, it is MCLR linked. Now, these are the schemes. I'm again recently, just day before, another scheme which we have come up with, STEP. This is basically a working capital term loan, because what we have observed is that suddenly sometimes the requirement comes for some order comes, and the promoter comes running to us that I want this amount urgently. Now, what happened is that we had an earlier scheme, PCS, Privileged Customer Scheme, with us. But that was for our, if he's been doing really well and he has been there for, considerable period. But a promoter who maybe has been there for 1 year or 2 years with us, where does he go? The other banks will not entertain him. Then his limits are exhausted. This particular scheme has been brought out for such kind of promoters. Now, the area which I would say that the areas, we are based in Pune, and we are the regional offices here. We are having around 9 branches in Maharashtra. And one we have in Thane, Vasai, Nagpur, Nasik, Chinchwad we have, Pune branch is there. And we are covering, you name the area and we are there. We are covering that area, right from Ahmednagar to Shri Rampur to Supa to Ranjangaon to Sanaswadi. Here, Y, we have gone up till Y. And then Pirangut, Mulshi, all these kind of promoters, they are coming to us. And now, besides these schemes, I'm covering the direct lending, what we are doing. Along with that, when we have different kind of portals also. We have this Udyami Mitra portal, and it is all digital. The promoters come, they just have to apply online. They come to us, obviously they inform us. Very short sanction and disbursement procedure is there. Sanction is, in fact, it is done very quickly, and it is all digital. And the TAT, the turnaround time, what we were talking was, that is also very, very low. Despite the fact that we do not have such a huge number of staff and not that huge network also, but the TAT is very low, because we are solely financing and, you can say, developing MSMEs. So we have only that job in hand, I would say. So we concentrate on that only. And Udyami Mitra portal, a number of registrations are there. Stand Up India is there, so we maintain that portal, and a number of registrations are happening there every day. Besides that, the Swavlamban, what we are doing, that is the targeting the micro units also. So those also we are somehow trying to bring them in a fold, so that one day they can also maybe take finance from us in a bigger way and become our brand ambassadors. So we are doing it in a major way, this Swavlamban series. If I would request all of you to please visit our website also. All the schemes and the Swavlamban work which we are doing, it is mentioned there. And the areas which we are covering here, like I would say Bhosri, etc. So I would request all of you, if you can just go to our website, go to see our schemes, and please visit us. If there are any queries, we would be very glad to reply to them. And our branch is in Chinchwad also, because I see that most of the promoters here must be from Bhosri and Chakan area. So in the MCCI building, our branch is there. So we would be able to cater to them. I think I'll end here. I'm very, very thankful to SME Chamber for inviting me and giving me a chance to speak in front of you, because generally what happens, we don't see all of you together. promoters, they come, go, it's like that. We never see, we don't have, generally never address the promoters. So, any queries there, you're most welcome to please contact us. We are at the regional office only, and branch people are also available. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now I'll invite Mr. Sandeep Kumar Patel, Deputy General Manager, Central Bank of India, to say some few words. We have one session left before the lunch, so I'll request him to deliver this. Thank you.
Very, very good afternoon to the SME chambers and its officials, the distinguished entrepreneurs and industrialists present here, and my brothers from my banking fraternity. Very, very good afternoon to guests and ladies and gentlemen. See, the word SME and MSME gives the pleasant to the ears, and we want to make it that it also appears to be a music to our mind. See, this is because financing the SME, it helps in the economic growth for the country. Yeah. Economic growth means we generate wealth for the public in general, and when we talk of generating the wealth for the public, it has to be equitable. So to make it equitable, the SME contributes a lot into this factor. We have been on the economic growth path for the last so many years, but this wealth distribution has been a major issue in our activities. These sayings we have been hearing from our childhood. It is better to teach a person to catch a fish rather than offering a fish to satisfy his needs, food needs. So what happens is that here SME plays that role. It gives that opportunity to the public, the industrialists, to generate employment and feed the people. Employment potential in MSME segments is at low capital cost, and it is a labor intensive when we compare to the large industrial houses. And if you go by the numbers, 90% of the units come under the MSME segments. At this MSME segment, they generate in the manufacturing sector, they generate the 45% of the outputs. And if you go to the export segments, MSME contributes about 40% to the exports. And it employs nearly 60 million people as per the fourth MSME survey in the industry, and the number of units that it gives the employment is around 26 millions. So see, this MSME, because I am highlighting this part, is that in the any objective of the government, the governance is always to uplift the standard of living of the people. So in the path to that raising the standard of living, employment generation is a major requirement, and that is why the MSME plays a role in fulfilling that requirements. To make a MSME unit successful, we require basically the 4 M's. One is the man, one is the material, there has to be a market, and the fourth part is money. The three parts are locally available. The man, the skills, the material locally available, the market, it has to be local so that whatever the MSME, the units produced, they are sold. But to carry out this activity, the money is required. So that money, to fulfill that requirement, banks, the financial institutions, the other entities in the financial services sectors, and nowadays the ITES, they play a major role in fulfilling that part. So this money matters. The banks, in the initial I said that this central bank is a public sector commercial banks. Public sector, I highlighted, I deliberately put this word public sector because we are owned by the government, and at the end of the financial year, we are put to a question that what is the profit that the banks are earning. So it is being a commercial bank. So naturally, we have to trade a very fine path in carrying out our activities. So, so in MSME is our part of the financing, that lending we do. And in MSME, looking at the objectives of the government, the requirements of the segment, we as a banker have so many general schemes and specific schemes to cater to the requirements of the MSMEs. The MSMEs are, as we know, they are across the various segments of the industry, including the food processing sector, the services sector, in the manufacturing, the health sector as well, the hospitality sectors and others. So the schemes we are having, this is a wholesale banking scheme that we are having. I will just run the slides. The corporate wholesale banking is one of the schemes where the corporates get a comfortable rate of interest of 4% to 5.5% depending upon their cash flows and other requirements to be fulfilled. Then we have got lease rent discountings. If there is a lease arrangement where the receivables are there by way of lease, you can discount them with their present values, subject to certain terms and conditions, etc. That is to ease your liquidity positions. Then Send Pragati is a scheme where we gives benefits when they fulfill certain criteria. This is a specific scheme for facilitating industry to migrate to a more comfortable platform. Then Send Business, where the paperworks are less, the security is there depending upon the type of security. The margins are also there. The credit scores are required, is one of the requirement. One measure where we are focusing nowadays is the sent warehouse receipts. We finance against the warehouse receipts issued by the recognized warehouses. Collateral security is not required over there. This is a food processing and edible unit. We have a specific scheme for this one. Then this Send Sanjeevani is for the healthcare sector, ranging from 10 lakhs to 100 crores. Then one scheme for cold storage as well. This is for commissioning agents, Send Artiya, and then Stand Up India is promoted by the government of India for certain segments of the society, the SC, ST and the women entrepreneurs. And Send Kalyani is a bank launched schemes long back. It caters to the women entrepreneurs. The main feature is the 0.5 percentage points, the interest rate that concessions we allow. And the CIC score requirement is also slightly less than the other normal schemes. And these are the other schemes where we can avail along with the business loans for MSME. And in this MSME, we have some other specific schemes that I will just reiterate here. One is that construction equipment financing scheme. We finance purchasing of construction equipment. Then one sand contractor is there, sand Kalyani we spoke of. Then one sand mortgage scheme term loan against the property. Rate of interest is your MCLR plus 2. MCLR is at present for 12 months is 7.1 per our bank. And then is sand mortgage for educational institutions. Then sand business we discussed that well GST is mandatory. We finance 20% of your sales projections. And your paper requirements are less because you need not submit the monthly stock statements. Then sand shop is there where we finance purchasing acquisition of shops where you can carry out your business. And then sand vehicle for business purpose, that is financing of purchase of vehicles for transportation of employees for the company purpose. These are the schemes that we are having. And we have in general schemes, we allow certain concessions in the financial parameters as against that applicable to general financings. So to give a brief background of the bank here in Maharashtra, and Goa, we are having around 600 branches. And the branches are mostly located in the western part of the state, spread over all the districts. We have got 9 regional offices above these branches, and if any bottleneck appear to be at the ground level, the regional offices are there who have got the lending powers up to 15 crores. We have got a zonal office at Pune, catering to the areas other than the Bombay and Goa and the coastal belt of Maharashtra. So zonal office has lending power up to 30 crores. If your requirements are more than beyond that, the proposals are recommended to central office. We have a dedicated credit team at the zonal office at Pune, at the regional office Pune, and we have got also a mid-corporate branch in our Pune camp MG Road area. And those who are into the export-import business, to cater to their requirements, we have got forex sales at Pune camp branch as well as at Pimpri branch. So these facilities we have put in, and any other requirements, any other special requirements you are having, you can always approach our zonal office at MG Road. We have got our own office there, Central Bank of India Building 317. So you can always approach us. You are always welcome. And for giving a platform here to Central Bank to interact with the industry, the SMEs, we are thankful to the SME chambers. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.